Okay, so you're going to open up a project which is in Activity 631 Files, and it's called Expression Controls Start. And you'll see here that we have our first composition, which is called Wind Turbines, which is a very simple Illustrator file that was imported. And so we've got 4 layers. We've got a towers layer, and we've got 3 prop layers or propeller layers. So we want to create a little animation of each propeller rotating, but we want to use an expression control so that we can control it from one place. So in order to do that, we're going to need a null object layer. So right click, new, null object, and I'm just going to call this rotation controller. And I'm going to apply the effect. So right click, effect, expression controls, angle control. So the angle control is basically just a controller that you can apply an angle to. So no big deal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to animate that angle control so that it does 4 rotations over 5 seconds. So at 0 seconds, I'm going to put the stopwatch on for angle, and then I'm going to go to the end, which is 5 seconds, and I'm going to change it to 4 full rotations. Okay, so now if I go back to the beginning and I select that layer and press U, you'll see I've got for the angle, I've got it at 0, and then at the end at 4 full rotations. Okay, so what we now need to do is, using our expression pick whip, we need to connect up the rotation value for each prop to that angle controller. So I'm going to press my tilde key on my keyboard to go full screen here, so I've got space to work. I'm going to start with prop 1 and press R for rotation, and then I'm going to open up the rotation controller so that I can see that angle value there. I'm going to hold down Alt on Windows, Option on the Mac, and click on the prop 1 rotation stopwatch to open my expression bar, and then I'm going to use this little pick whip, it looks like a snail, to point at angle. So that means the expression has been written that the rotation value of prop 1 must be linked to the angle control. Okay, now I'm going to close up prop 1, open up prop 2, or at least press R for prop 2, Alt or Option, click on the stopwatch for rotation, take the pick whip, point at angle. Close that up. Click on prop 3, R for rotation, Alt or Option, click on the stopwatch, take the pick whip, point at angle. Close that up, press the tilde key to go back to normal. So if I now, let me just make this the full 5 seconds, if I now scrub the playhead along the timeline, they're all rotating from being connected to the angle control. So now what I can do is I can go into the expression and I can change something. So I'm going to leave prop 1 to rotate at the normal rotation that the angle control is sending through to it. But for prop 2, I'm going to press R and open up my expression bar. And right at the end, I don't need to know how to write expressions. All that I'm going to do at the end is say times 2. So star is times. So I'm saying whatever this value is that's coming from the angle controller, multiply it by 2. So that propeller should turn faster. And then for prop 3, I'll press R, open up the expression bar. And for this one, I'm going to press /2, which means divide that value by 2. So that one should be going slower than the angle controller. So let's just see if that's working. Yeah, so the middle one's going faster, twice as fast, and the third one is going twice as slow. So if I play that back properly, we're getting a nice variety of rotations, which makes it look more appealing and more dynamic. There's just one more thing I want to do, which is to put motion blur onto those propellers. So there's the switches column for motion blur. I'm going to put it on for all 3 of those, well, for the propellers, not the null object, for the 3 propellers, and make sure that your master switch for motion blur is on. and then let's just do one more render. So it's just playing back first to render, and then we'll play it back in real time. Okay, so playing back in real time. So that's how an angle controller, expression control, can control multiple layers for rotation. Alright, so I'm going to stop playback there, and we're going to go back to our project panel, and you'll see that we have a cars comp, so it's already open down here. So the cars comp has basically just got 4 cars. And what we're going to do is we're going to control the color of these cars from one expression control. So right click, new, null object, and we're going to call this color controller, and we're going to put the effect. So right click, effect, expression controls, color control. And the color control is literally just that. It's a way of controlling color. So what we're going to do is at 0 seconds, we're going to put the stopwatch on for color, leave it at red, and then we're going to go to 2 seconds and change the color to yellow. At 4 seconds, we'll change the color to green. At 6 seconds, we'll change it to blue. Let me just show the full timeline here. At 8 seconds, we'll set it to purple. And at 10 seconds, we'll set it back to red. Okay, so if I select that null object layer and press U, you can see that I've got these keyframes going red, yellow, green, blue, purple, red. So I want all the cars to change color using this color controller. So for each one of these layers, and I'm just going to press the tilde key to go full screen. Remember that what you do to one layer happens to all selected layers. So I'm going to select the 4 layers, and I'm going to apply the effect, color correction, change to color. Okay, and this is what the change to color effect looks like. So now I'm going to start with car 1, that's the red car, and I'm going to say change from, so I'm going to choose the little eyedropper for from, and I'm going to click on that red. Okay, and the to value I want to link to the color controller. So we need to do that down here. So tilde key, car 1, I'm going to open up the effects, change to color, and then the color controller I'm going to open up so I can see that color value there. So here the to value, I'm going to hold down Alt and click on the stopwatch for 2 and use the expression bar pick whip to point at the color control. So what we're saying is take the red of the car and change it to whatever color the color control is. So let's test that. So tilde key, and I'm just going to take my playhead further down. You can see that car is now changing color, that top left hand car. Okay. Yeah, so that's working pretty well. Now we can close that car up, and we're going to take the next car, and we're going to say change from eyedropper. Let's click on the blue, and you want to try and get the blue and not the reflections or the shadows. Okay, so by default this effect tests it by changing it to red. Just remember that's just the default setting. So you can see that some of the blue is still showing through here, so you can adjust that by going to the softness value and just pushing that up or down. Okay, so I'm going to push that down a bit, and let's also take the hue value up a little bit. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing here. So tilde key, we're going to open the effect up, change to color, hold down Alt or Option, click on the to stopwatch, take the pick whip, point at the color controller. Oh, that didn't work. Let's do that again. Color. Okay, let it write the effect. You can close that up. Tilde key. And now that second car should change color with the first car. Okay, let's do car 3. So change from. Let's click on the green. We need to adjust our hue value and our softness value a bit. Then tilde key. Go into the effect. Change to color. Alt or Option. Click on the 2 stopwatch. Take the pick whip. Point at color. Close it up. Okay, and let's do the last one. So from yellow, let's change the hue so that we get all that yellow and the softness. Okay, then tilde key, open up, and we're going to Alt or Option, click on 2 stopwatch and take the pick whip and click in color. Okay, so now we can close all of these up, and let's just play this timeline and see if they all work. Okay, so that's how you can use a color controller to control the color of multiple layers. Right, and the last one, we have a comp here called Fake Quake that's got nothing in it at the moment. So from the project panel, from images, there's an image here called Tokyo. Drag that down, and we're going to scale it up. We're going to scale it up bigger than the comp because we want to create almost like a CCTV footage kind of quake. So we're going to scale it up bigger, going up to 170%. Okay. Then what we want to do is first of all make this footage look like it's CCTV footage. So we're going to right click, Effect, Color Correction, and we're going to go to CC Toner. Okay, and we want to change that mid-tone value from brown to a sort of CCTV greeny color. This is like really cheap, old school CCTV footage. Okay, then we want to add a bit of noise, so it's like really bad quality. So right click, Effect, and Noise and Grain, Noise, and then we want to take the amount of noise up, let's say to 60%. Let's just see what that looks like. Okay, that's pretty good. So that looks like really bad CCTV footage, like from the 70s. So now what we want to do is we want to add a null object. So right click, New, Null Object, and we'll call this Quake Controller. Okay, and on that layer we're going to apply the wiggle effect, which we're going to find under Effects and Presets here. So you're going to go here, choose Effects and Presets, do a search for wiggle, and find wiggle position. You're going to drag that onto that null object. And in your effects here, what you're really wanting to control is, sorry, I've made a mistake here. I'm going to undo that. So Command or Control Z. We need to put that wiggle position on the actual Tokyo image. Okay, that's where it needs to be. So you'll see there's a whole lot of stuff here, but you can close up the transform effect, and you're just looking at this noise. Okay, you can close up noise, you can close up tone, and we're just looking at position. And you'll see there's two values, speed and amount. So if I just drag my playhead, you can see it's really quite a big, smooth kind of motion, which is not very much like an earthquake. So what we're going to do is control the amount of quaking first. So under speed and amount, we want to speed it up a bit. Let's take it up to 5. And we want the amount to be a little bit less. So let's take it down to 15. Let's just see what that looks like. Okay, the speed needs to be higher, so let's take that to 15. Okay, that's much better. Okay, so that's more like a kind of earthquake, like this is a CCTV camera at the top of a high-rise building. and it's shaking around because there's an earthquake. Okay, so now we need to control the amount of shake over time, and we're going to do that with the quake controller. Right click, and we're going to add the effect expression control slider, and all the slider is literally going from 0 to 100, and so we're going to control that quake control value with that. So we're going to press tilde key. We're going to open up the Tokyo effects and the wiggle position property, and then the quake controller effects slider control. So this slider control here, we need to control the wiggle amount. I'm just going to make this column wider so you can see. So wiggle amount is going to connect up to the slider. So Alt or Option, click on the stopwatch for wiggle amount, take the pick whip and point at slider. Okay, and click away. So now we have the slider controlling the amount of quake. Now what we want to do is control that over time. So at 0 seconds, we want the amount of quake to be 0. So we put the stopwatch on there. Then we're going to go to 2 seconds, and we still want it to be 0, so we're going to click on this little diamond here to add another keyframe, holding it at 0. Then we're going to go to 4 seconds, and we're going to set the slider amount up to 15. Okay, and then we're going to go back to 8 seconds here, and we're going to bring that slider value back down to 0. So it basically goes no earthquake, and then over 2 seconds sudden earthquake, and then it fades off. Okay, so and that's being controlled with the slider expression control. So let's see if this works. Let me make the whole timeline visible. Okay, so that's using the slider control. So these are 3 examples of how you can use expression controls to control other layers. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and see you next time.